I was never the strongest racer. But whatever little success I got in the sport, whatever few results I got in the sport, be it at local community racing or be it at the national level, have always been testament to the fact that you have to read a race. You have to see what's happening. You can't just go there and say, I'm going to race hard today. You can't expect to get good results in that way. You need to see who all are racing, who are the players, who's going to try to win the race. You need to see who they are. Then you need to see what they're doing in the race. You need to see if there's somebody supporting them, because you have a certain number of matches to burn in a race, and you need to make sure that you burn those matches at the right moments. It really helps in these situations to be able to have short-term goals. First race, I lasted exactly 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes, I got spat out of the bunch, and there's no catching the bunch after that, so pulled out of the race. There are many ways to react to that. Like after being in the final sprint at the national championships, I'm not even able to last 30 minutes in a race which people race for 2.5 hours. Again, it really helped to have a mentor and coach like NJ. He sort of put this thing in that you have lasted 30 minutes, now you need to last longer in a race. So my next target was 40 minutes. I hit that target, and then my next target was an hour, and then I hit that hour as well. And before you know it, I was able to finish a race. These small goals are what helped keep me motivated, keep me training towards making these small progressions as an athlete.
I am Venki, a working professional in IT as well as an amateur masters athlete and a coach for endurance sports. You are listening to the Working Athlete Podcast. Here, I talk to working athletes from all walks of life and experts from various sports to provide you with inspiration, training tips, and lifestyle advice. If this is something that interests you, I have a small request from you. Please subscribe to the channel on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. You can also let me know what you like and what you would like to listen to more of by commenting in the comment section on YouTube. I promise to do my best to improve with each episode and bring you the best content that helps you and me get better each day. In this episode, I talked to Parashuram Chenji. Parashuram Chenji is a strong rider from Hyderabad who at one time won 2 national medals in cycling. He ever since retired from cycling and has become a football coach and is currently training to become a personal trainer. As someone who is really passionate about sports all his life, he has an amazing story to tell. And this episode, you can learn a lot from his experience. This episode is brought to you by The Bike Affair. If you are in search of a one-stop destination that caters to all your cycling needs, our today's sponsor, The Bike Affair, is the perfect place to check out. I have known the founders of The Bike Affair, Krish and Gokul, personally for nearly 15 years now. In fact, my first century ride was with Krish back in 2008. They are both exceptional human beings and entrepreneurs that believe in providing exceptional service to their customers. And it shows. With over 14 years of experience, the Bike Affair has established itself as a trusted source offering honest advice and exceptional service. They are offering a special treat for the listeners of this podcast. You can enjoy a 10% discount on your first order by using the code BikeyVenki on their website. So if you are in Hyderabad, visit their store in Kondapur, or if you are anywhere else in India, shop online by using the link thebikeaffair.com. I will leave the link in the show notes. Now, enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the Working Athlete Podcast, Parshu. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks a lot, Venki. I've been hoping to be on this podcast since you started.
Great. Parshu, I have been a witness to your journey over the years, but I wanted to take this opportunity to get to know more about your journey, how you got into cycling and, how you got to the level where you won a couple of national medals. And then what was the, reason behind taking a step back from cycling and, pursuing something else.
and where you are right now and all this. This is the, I'm curious to learn more about all the journey and share this with, others as well.
Lovely. I think this is a great opportunity for that. Back when I was cycling competitively, my story was out there because I felt like social media was such a big player in helping me get to where I got till, because it was very important in raising awareness about the sport, about what I'm doing and stuff like that. So my story was all out there. And ever since I took a step back, I've been very inactive on social media. So I do get my friends and family asking me what's been happening, how come I'm not posting much and stuff like that. So I think this is a great opportunity to show them, to speak to them and tell them all where I'm at in life as well.
Yeah, excellent. So let's start with something that I always talk about. What was your relationship with sport growing up?
Ooh, good question. Great question. I was always into sport. I was always as a kid. I had an elder brother. We grew up together, and we were always playing. We played a lot of cricket, and we had friends in and around. We used to play cricket with them. I was really lucky to be a younger brother. I didn't realize it back then, but every day we play cricket or we play out or we just go cycling or whatever. And my brother used to beat me because he's taller, stronger, faster, and I never realized it then, but that was the beginning of training with somebody who's better than you. It really improves your own performance. So yeah, growing up, I played a lot with my brother, and we had a lot of with my brothers, in fact, and we had a lot of common friends, and we used to play together. Played a lot of cricket up until I was in class 7. Then I switched to football. Played a little bit of basketball as well. Played some tennis as well, squash. Pretty much any sport that we had the opportunity and the facilities to go and play, I was very happy to explore. So yeah, growing up, I played a lot of sport. That was my outlet. That was my release. And as a kid, you have a lot of extra energy, which if you can't channel it into sport, then you end up destroying the house, which is something that me and my brothers have also done. We've broken so many sofas by playing WWE and stuff like that. So sport has always been very, very close to my heart. It's been a release of energy. It's what gives happy hormones. It's what makes you happy, and it's what makes you sleep well at night as well.
What is the role that the parents played in the early sport life?
I have awesome parents. Everybody knows that I have awesome parents. They are into cycling themselves. Even as of today, they go out for weekend rides and stuff like that. But that's not the only thing. There have been times when my parents as well were against me playing sport. There was this time when, despite the fact that they were always very helpful and supportive whenever we wanted to play, there was a time when I was in my 12th and I had to give my half-yearly exams. But there was an important school football tournament coming up, and I was captain of my school team. And I knew that my parents were not going to let me go. So if I told them about the tournament, it was almost like giving up on the tournament. But it was very important for me, and I knew that I wanted to go, so I had to keep it secret from them. And 3 days I had to spend morning till evening at Oak Ridge School. That's where the tournament was held. First day, parents didn't get to know. Second day, mom gets to know. But by this time, we've made it to the semifinals. So mom ko, my younger brother, who was also on our football team, on our school football team, he put out mom and said, please don't tell dad. Tomorrow semifinals and finals, we might win this. So yeah, we got to go back the next day for semis and finals, and ended up winning that tournament. I ended up scoring 8 goals in 5 matches, getting the golden boot, and came back home and fell asleep. But I got to know that dad has got to know. So, despite winning the tournament and all, I was still scared. But when I got up and when dad was back home, he greeted me with my favorite dessert. He gave me vanilla ice cream with gulab jamun.
Huh?
So that was a huge shock because I was expecting to be scolded for what we did and how we hid it from dad. But dad was an athlete himself. Back in his day, he also played a lot of sport. He was into judo. He was into wrestling. So I think he kind of understood where this drive was coming from, and he understood why we had hid it from him as well. And that was his way of showing support, and that's where it started. Also, after that, anything to do with sport from that day onwards, my parents were fully supportive.
Wow, I didn't know about judo and wrestling background of Arvind, but I know he's an awesome photographer and a lovely cyclist, and someone who supported your cycling journey and all that. But I didn't know about that sport background. Maybe I should get him on the podcast sometime. Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely. Dad deserves to be here.
he's a legend. Yeah. So now coming to the cycling aspect, so how did and when did you get started into cycling?
I used to cycle throughout my childhood. It was, I mean, dad always sort of ensured that I had a cycle, that me and my brothers, we had a cycle, but it was never, I never cycled a lot until it came to a point where I needed to get to places, and that was the only means of transport for me. And it was the most convenient means of transport for me. So that's when I started. I started cycling to go to tuitions. I started cycling to go to school. I started cycling to go to football coaching. So it just became like a means of commute and second nature to me. And yeah, so then when I went to Delhi for college, I made sure that I had a cycle over there as well. So I commuted a lot over there. And then when I came back from college to Hyderabad, that's when my commute distance sort of grew, because I was living in Secunderabad, working in Gachibowli. It was a 23-kilometer commute to work. So that's where I got into longer distance rides in which I was trying to go fast as well. So that's where I got a little bit that inclination towards racing in this sport. So that's how it slowly crept into me.
Right. So, which was the year that you started? You came back from Delhi, started working in Gachibowli, and this 23 kilometer one-way commute is like 46 kilometers daily. Which year was this?
This was in 2014 when I was 19 years old or 20 years old.
Wow, you started working early, yeah?
Yeah, commerce background. So just 3 years of college, and yeah, this I didn't see the need to pursue a master's in anything. There was no particular subject that I was inclined towards pursuing. In fact, I had gotten out of college. When I was in college, I was studying to become a chartered accountant. I cleared my first 2 levels of the exams as well. And in my final semester at college, while studying for the 3rd exam in chartered accountancy, I just went blank. There was this one day when I went blank. I was watching a screen and I was listening to this teacher who was teaching us about audit and how you audit books and whatnot. And I just went blank because it's all like, this is what you do, this is what you do, then this is what you do, and this is what why do you do it? There was no answer to that. What is there's no logic. It was not fun. I was not able to concentrate on it. And yeah, I had to pause the class and I went out for a walk with so many thoughts on my mind. And then I called dad from there. That day I called dad and I said, Dad, I'm feeling like this. I don't enjoy what I'm studying. I don't think I want to build a future in this. I don't want to be a chartered accountant and be bored for the rest of my life. And again, this is where having awesome parents comes into the picture. So dad understood how I was feeling in that moment, despite being, in Hyderabad while I was in Delhi. And we didn't speak much. I only used to call dad whenever I needed money.
Like every kid.
So this was probably something that he also appreciated, maybe because he's the person that I go to first whenever I need any advice. And he understood where I was coming from. He understood what I was feeling, and he gave me some really good advice. He said, "It's okay. Whatever you're feeling is okay. Just make sure that right now you're in the sea, you're in a boat. Before you jump out of this boat, you need to have another boat in sight. You need to have another plan in mind as to how you want to progress from here. But yeah, if you feel this way, I'm going to back you. Do what you need to do." So that's how I got out of chartered accountancy. What was the question though? I forgot.
And then how did you get into, like, say you started working, right? And then you started commuting. And from commute, then how did you kind of get into, say, longer rides, competitive cycling and all that?
Right. So when I was commuting to work, I got introduced to Strava, and I used to log all my rides on Strava. I used to try to win KOMs in the city, and I started winning KOMs in the city. And by the time in my head, I was the best. Like I hadn't seen any other cyclist in Hyderabad. I don't see anybody riding on the roads or whatever. So I thought, I must be the best guy out here. So very happily, when I heard about a local race, I went for the race. And promptly there were 4 solid athletes over there. There was Jetharam, Ramsarup, there was Gaurav Dugal, and there was Aman Punjani. And they gave me an eye-opener as to, there are cyclists in India. This is something that people take up as a sport and then end up doing well at. So yeah, I went in with a really good mindset, which is why I was able to hold their wheel for the whole race, despite them trying to drop me and stuff like that. But yeah, that was my first experience with racing. And despite how hard it was, despite how tough it was, I really enjoyed myself. It was great to see that there are people who are taking the sport competitively, and to see that, I can also compete with them. I had a really great race there. Immediately after the race, both Ramsarup and Jetha, who are with the railways, they ride for the railways team. They used to ride for the railways team at least. They asked me, and where do you ride, and this, that, and they ended up asking me if I'm keen to train with them. They would be happy, and that was, for me, it was huge. 2 national level athletes are asking me if I would be, happy to train with them. There was no looking back. After that, that's when I started training with them, and that's when I learned so much more about the sport. And that was the beginning of my journey in this sport.
Awesome. So that was 2014 as well.
Yeah, 2014.
What were you riding at that time? What bike were you riding?
I had a road bike. I was riding a GT Series 4. It was a nice, good road bike with Tiagra components. This is what my dad had gifted me. So I had begun riding a few years before that, and
you were commuting on that as well?
Yes, commuting as well on that.
Nice. Okay, so you got to that race, you surprised yourself and surprised the top guys there, and they asked you to come start riding with them and training with them. So how did it progress from there? It was 2000, maybe end of 2014, 15, and you started riding with them. How did your level kind of progress from there?
I had the best first year that anybody could expect. So Jetha and Ramsarup, I started training with them. Along with that, my dad was also keenly into this cycling as a sports scene over there.
Right.
And he tied up with Maxwell sir and a few of his friends to form a racing team. Hyderabad Racing League. So Jetha, Ramsarup, me and Akash were kind of like the core 4 riders on this
Akash
team.
Panda.
Not Akash Panda. Akash Panda came in a little later.
Yeah.
This is Akash Katkam, Datu sir's son.
Mm-hmm.
So the 4 of us used to train together every single morning with Maxwell Trevor sir, who after a break, he had just come back into the sport to give back to the sport, and he started by coaching this team of 4 of us. So in that 1 year, we trained every morning. It could be a short 1 hour training with some intense intervals. It could be slightly longer as well. But yeah, to train under such a good coach, such an accomplished coach who knows the nuances of the sport so well, to train along with two senior national athletes who are very strong, very powerful, who understand the sport so well. Within that first year of training with them, from an amateur, I developed into somebody who could compete at the national level. My first nationals was within that first year itself, in which I placed sixth at in the under 23 master. I placed eighth in the under 23 time trial, and then just because I had young energy and Telangana doesn't have a very strong cycling team, so there were spots open in the elite races also. I was very happy to experience the elite peloton and see what it was like, and I ended up placing ninth in that race as well. So yeah, my first year with great guidance, great mentors, great coach, I was very lucky, and that's what helped me to actually realize my potential to actually grow, because I started when I was 21 years old, and which is a little late for a cyclist, but by the time I was 22, I was already ready to compete at the national level and hopefully win a national medal. So yeah, that's how I got, I would say, very lucky. A lot of parent support, but without hard work, you don't get any of these results. And I was very happy to put in that hard work because I was enjoying myself so much.
Awesome. So 2015 or 16 was your first nationals?
16, yes. But
Yeah.
I mean, that was the 2015 nationals, which was postponed. So it was held in 2016, February.
Right. And you've placed, in the top 10 there in the elite field or 20 under 23 field?
In both, I placed sixth in the under 23 and ninth in the elite field.
Oh, awesome. That's a great debut. And so that was your first nationals. What was the experience like in your second nationals?
Oh, well, by the time we got around till the second nationals, I was a completely different athlete. By then, I knew that I'm already at the national level, and now how do I take it from here to the next level? So between 2016 February and 2016 November, that's when the next nationals happened. A lot had changed for me. I went for a training camp in Ooty, where Srinath Rajam sir organized this training camp, and there were a lot of good riders who had come to train there, including Naveen John. He was also there with us. So, and I was in really good shape back then, and I was really light as well. I was probably like 65 kilos. So I did really well on the hills. I was second to Jetha in that whole camp. Jetha was, constantly the fastest up the hills, and I was competing with a lot of other good guys from Bangalore. But I ended up just that little bit quicker than them up the hills. So Naveen John noticed this. He saw that results come from hard work, and he saw that I was putting in the hard work and I was developing, and it was just my first year in the sport. And this is when he was also planning the Indian Pro Cycling Project, which is his brainchild. It's when he got this idea, this picture that, and this understanding, I would say, he understood that for Indian cycling to develop, our athletes need to get out of this country and train and race with, the rest of the world,
Right.
Which is many levels above us right now. So he planned these Belgium trips every year, where he would take a bunch of athletes and we would train and race in Belgium. So that happened in 2016. I spent 2 months in Belgium with them, and I was in really good shape, and I had a really good mentality as well. And in your head, when you know that you have put in the work, you are well deserving of being on that podium. The only step that's left is to make sure that you execute your races well. And I did that. I did that as best as I could to get a medal in my second nationals in 2016.
Awesome. So second a medal in your very second nationals, right? What was the medal? What was the race like? What do you remember as the key moments that kind of led to that awesome result?
It was the under 23 master. It was a 120 kilometer road race in Aligarh, UP. it was very competitive, especially for me because I was representing the state of Telangana. We didn't have a strong team. And there was Karnataka, there was Rajasthan, there was Haryana, and there was Delhi and a few other state teams which had come in with a full solid 6 riders per team with a game plan, with some strong riders who they believed were capable of winning the race. So it was a very tactical race. But like I said, it was all about race strategy for me, this one. I knew that I had the legs, I knew that I had the strength to match anybody in this race, but I didn't have any support in the sense that, I would have to close down all the attacks by myself. I would have to decide which attacks to close down. So tactically, I played this race really smart. And despite that, I still had to put in 110% effort. So the combination of that is what helped me to get the result. So making the right moves and being smart and all of that, that's what helped me to get the result in that race. Yeah, I mean, I've written a long blog post about it, which more than anyone else has read it. I've gone back to read it every now and then. So yeah, it was a great race.
Awesome. So was it a silver medal?
It was a silver, yes.
Was it like were you in a break, or was there a bunch sprint? How did that end up
Yeah, so
coming out?
The last lap of the race, in the last 8 kilometers of the race, in fact, there was an attack from somebody who hadn't showed his face in the race till then. He was just sitting in the back. He's from Haryana, Saurav. He attacked with 8 kilometers to go, and I saw the attack even before he did attack. I saw him accelerating from the side, and my race plan was to make sure that I don't let anybody go like that. And if I'm letting them go or whatever, I have to be with that break. So I accelerated as well, and instantly I caught up to him, and then I realized that there is a small gap. So yeah, we worked together, and in that moment, the fact that we worked together was very, very key, because the bunch was really trying hard to catch us. So we worked really hard together, and ended up staying away for 8 kilometers, the remaining 8 kilometers of the race. And I strongly believe that I deserved the gold medal that year, but I made many mistakes in that race. I didn't have a hydration strategy. I didn't have enough water, and I ended up cramping in the final 5 kilometers. So he beat me to the line. But yeah, what's done is done. I'm still happy with the result. I'm still happy that I got a result over there in that race.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, there will always be kind of learnings, when we look back. But all those experiences, you were, despite the mistakes that you have done many things right to be there. Making the right move and being at the right place at the right time, and having the sense of presence of mind to notice that something is happening that could be decisive, and marking it and making it entire. Of course, being so young, there are bound to be some mistakes that you have to learn from, which in this case turned out to be the nutrition and hydration. That it's so easy to get caught up in all the excitement and action that you tend to forget doing the most basic things, right? Like, am I eating correctly? Am I drinking correctly? Even the big boys tend to do that mistake from time to time. I think he was around the age that you are mentioning right now. Matthew Anderpole was 21 or something at that time, and he was in this was it Paris-Roubaix or something else? I don't remember. He was ahead of the field. He was in a solo break, 20 kilometers from the finish. He bonked spectacularly and he just couldn't move. Right? All these things happen at all levels. So we got to learn and move on. But being able to put in that result, come up with a result in your second year at that level speaks something of the kind of work that you put, the mental acuity that you had, and the race nose that you possessed at that time as well. Coming back, that was that last year as under 23, or
Yeah, that was my last year as an under 23 rider.
right? And then you had to you progressed to the elite category, right?
Yes.
So, and when did the Ciclo Racing Team happen, and what was that?
Ciclo team racing happened the very next year, in fact. So, yeah, this is when Naveen got even more active in the community, figured out a way to build a team that's based out of India, which actually trains and races in the same way that maybe an international team would do. So yeah, Naveen was on his own journey to help improve the sport, and the only way to improve the sport is to improve the best athletes you have in the country in the sport. So he moved heaven and hell to make sure that Ciclo team.
And he still does.
He still does. It's so impressive what he's doing. So he made sure. I mean, he helped to form the team, Ciclo Team Racing. It was him. It was Arvind Pawar. It was me and Aman Punjani, the four of us. And then again, Naveen made the whole Belgium plan again. So 2016, I spent 2 months in Belgium. 2017, I spent 3 months in Belgium, along with these 3 riders and a few more as well. So yeah.
How is that? Before we come and talk about the Ciclo Racing Team and the whole dynamics and the progression there, I want to also not miss an important chapter, which is the training and racing in Belgium, right? Both 2016 and 17. What was the experience like there? Because even for the best of people that are like not from that mecca of cycling, people from all over the country, all over the world actually land up there in the hopes of improving their cycling, and getting noticed by the pro teams and all that, right? So you a bunch of guys, kind of almost novices, under the guidance of very passionate guy NJ, show up at this place, the mecca of cycling, so to speak, and start racing there. What was it like the first year of showing up in Belgium and witnessing and taking part in that race and stuff like that?
So Belgium is a different ball game altogether. After having raced in India, after having raced at the topmost level in India and having shown performances over there, I strongly believed that how hard can it be? Because in cycling, I realized this in India, that I can finish any race, I can do well at any race, because even when the strongest guys are going as fast as they can, I can be comfortable in their draft. So it's almost impossible to drop somebody who knows this and who can implement this in a race. So that's the same mentality that I took to Belgium. How hard can it be? All I have to do is sit in their draft. But oh boy, what an eye opener. The fact that the people over there are so much stronger is testament to how good their system is. They have people cycling and racing right from when they're really young, and what really takes that to the next level is the abundance of racing. Every day in Belgium, you can find 4 to 5 races every single day. Whichever race is closer to where you are, you can target that, you can register for that, and you can race. Each of these races has so many riders, all of whom would probably be capable of coming and highlighting in Indian national championships. Because these guys, they train throughout the season, they race throughout the season, and I'm a strong believer in the fact that if you want to improve your performance in anything, be it not just sport, but even art or knowledge or whatever, you have to be exposed to people who have taken this journey, who are better than you, who you sort of aspire to get to their level. So when you're exposed to people who are at a level much higher than you are, that's when you grow. And that's what Belgium was for me. An eye-opener. You see how strong the rest of the world is, and it's testament to the fact that they've been brought up in this sport. They have more exposure, more experience in the sport, and they have such a huge community that trains together. They enjoy riding together. They have good weather, good roads, good everything. So Belgium that way is there's no way that India can compete with the riders from there, because we don't have any systems in place. We get, if we are lucky, one race a month, or in Bangalore maybe 2-3 races a month, because the community is doing so well over there. But how can you expect somebody who's doing 2-3 races a month compete against somebody who's been doing 2-3 races a week for many years? So that's why the country is so far ahead in this sport, and for any other country, especially for our country, to catch up to them is a long journey.
Right. So, but talking about just your experience there, it is easy for someone from our region, with the kind of lack of resources and experience and the culture, to go there and experience. There are two primary reactions that could be there. There can be many, but first one would be, damn, this is so hard, I can't do it, this is not for me, and have that negative reaction to say it can almost break you, right? Or there can be other way, man, the gap is so much that I have to do so much hard work, and maybe these are the kind of steps that I can take to get there. Like, it could take me say 10 years, but I will put in the work to this year I need to put in this much work, next year this much work, and like that. So there can be two kind of reactions, like one that can really deject you and like break you, or the other one would be to kind of say, okay, that is where I need to be, and this is what I need to do. What was your kind of reaction there?
Good question. Mine was a mixed reaction, I would say. While it was so surprising to see how fast, how strong these guys are, how they accelerate out of each corner, how you have to accelerate to stay with them. While it surprised me and shocked me and showed me my place in this sport, it also, we went there with the idea of this being the best training field for us to train in. And there's nothing better than that. You go with a certain mindset, and you're on your first day itself, that mindset is completely broken. You understand that, what you thought you would be doing out here, not happening. So you need to rethink what you're doing out here. It really helps in these situations to be able to have short-term goals. Because if I go there and my first race, I lasted exactly 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes, I got spat out of the bunch, and there's no catching the bunch after that. So you pull out. You pull out of the race, basically. You get pulled out of the race. There are many ways to react to that. Like, after being in the final sprint at the national championships, I'm not even able to last 30 minutes in a race, which people race for 2.5 hours. So if I went to Belgium with the goal of finishing the race in the top 10 or something like that, I would have been shattered. That's where, again, it really helped to have a mentor and coach like NJ. He sort of put this thing in that you have lasted 30 minutes, now you need to last longer in a race. So my next target was 40 minutes, and I hit that target. And then my next target was an hour, and then I hit that hour as well. And before you know it, I was able to finish a race. So these small goals are what helped keep me motivated, keep me training towards making these small progressions as an athlete. Having those small goals, it really helps anybody to have a good mentality.
Yeah.
If you have long-term goals and only long-term goals, it's very easy for the negativity to creep in. Like, how am I
Right.
going to bridge this gap?
This is like, you are at the bottom of the summit and there is like 8,000 meters to climb. It can get very daunting. But if you look at the next 100 meters, even next 10 meters, and then work towards that, with, maybe within a day or two,
Absolutely.
you're there. And that's a very good point about having smaller intermediary goals to kind of bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be. It's like from 30 minutes, going from 30 minutes to 40 minutes, 1 hour, then eventually finishing a 2.5 hour race is a big jump. But that might not have happened in, say, the immediate next race, but it definitely happened as you kept working on as you kept chipping away at it. That's a great way to look at it, and that's what having good mentors like NJ makes you, because you got to be practical while you have the vision, when you have the big goals. You also have to be practical in the short term and see what are the immediate steps you need to take. Right?
Absolutely. Goal setting is the key to success in anything that you do in life. And it's not just me saying this. This is proven in textbooks. That, I mean, I've been studying now. I'm studying to become a personal trainer. And behavior modification is a very important part towards achieving your goals. And this goal setting is so key that when you set the wrong goal, you lose progress, you lose track of what you're doing, you lose track of what you're envisioning as well, which is why goal setting is such an important part of the process. And you need the right guidance, the right knowledge in order to be able to set the right goals. And every goal, every medium or long-term goal that you have needs to be able to be broken down into smaller, short-term goals, because that's what keeps you going in the day-to-day life. I'm not going to envision myself becoming a world-class professional athlete and then every single day of my life train towards that, because that's maybe a 5-year, 10-year journey. But if I have the smaller short-term goals that, by the end of this month, I'm able to do, let's say, for example, 30 push-ups. Now I want to do 40 push-ups by the end of this month. So when you have those goals and when you're able to break it down and you're able to target them and accomplish them, you're headed in the right path and you're having a good journey. It's not the end goal, it's the journey. So you have a good experience during the journey and you will reach where you want to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But enjoying that journey, and that is a big part of it. It's not the results that kind of give you that that elusive happiness, but the journey itself. Now, you had that experience of 2016 there in Belgium. So how was 2017 different from, what were the learnings that you took from your first year there and implemented that helped you, or maybe not, in 2017?
Okay, I I don't know if I have an answer to this question, because for me, looking back at it now, my performance in 2016 and my performance in 2017 were both very similar. Back in 2016, I was still 65 kilos. But by the time I had left Belgium, by the time I went back to India, I was 70 kilos. I had gained 4 to 5 kilos in Belgium of muscle, pretty much. So it kind of defined my attributes as a rider as well, because before that, I was with 5 kilos lesser, I was able to do well in the hills as well. But now at 70, I was suddenly struggling in inclines and with lighter riders and, people like KKR and Aman Punjani and stuff like that. I was struggling up hills with them. And that reflected in 2017 as well, because 2016, I was able to perform at a certain level in Belgium. 2017, I went back there and I wasn't able to perform at my previous level itself. So yeah, it changed things. Okay. Now I have an answer to your question.
Yeah.
2016 and 2017 were different years, yes, but it shows you that in order to keep improving in the sport, you need to keep competing at higher levels. So 2016, I spent so much time in Belgium, and I got to a certain level where you could see the improvement, you could feel the improvement. You would normally expect that to carry on into 2017. So when you get back there, you will probably be in a better place. But I guess spending the remaining 10 months in India where you don't have many races, and by that time it had come to a point where if I'm training in Hyderabad, I don't have training partners as well, because there's nobody else who's at that level, who's, who you can collaborate with and have a training schedule together with. So a lot of my training became solo. So definitely I was not as fit as I would have wanted to be heading into Belgium itself. In hindsight, I could have, it would have involved training with top class athletes throughout the year. I can't picture myself training solo and then, going and giving solid performances. You need to be training with people who are better than you to keep your level at that level. So 2017 also was, for me, in a way, me trying to bridge a huge gap in fitness between me and myself and the rest of the competitive racers over there.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point, because see, you went there, worked your ass off, to gain that fitness level, to last a race and complete it. And you come back, you don't have anything to, utilize that fitness here. And you kind of go through the motions of training and try to stay as motivated as you can, or as on schedule as you can. But it's not picture perfect, right? You also go through the motions of, ups and downs and all that. And then it's the same cycle all over again. When you land up there, you did not carry the fitness from any year back. So it also speaks to something that we, in general and in life, we have to remember that fitness doesn't last a very long time. It is something that you got to work on day in and day out.
Absolutely.
You just cannot rest on your laurels at all. I can't say, I was once a sub 25 climber on Nandi. Now I struggle to go under 30. That's the reality of it, right? It's if you are able to, continuously put in the work, you will be able to maintain it or improve it. Like someone like NJ, who is like 13 years, he's still at it. He's still improving. And I don't know how he does it, but one thing for sure is the consistency aspect of it, which is a big aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. Consistency is a huge aspect of it, but it's not all there is. If you actually look at what NJ has been doing, consistency, sure, but even I had consistency. I was, in fact, I take pride in the fact that I never missed a training day. I was, irrespective of who's showing up for training, I was always there. Because I was disciplined, I was motivated to become the best version of myself as an athlete. So consistency was there in me as well, but that did not convert into gains in fitness or speed or whatever. Because I was training in an environment which was subpar for my development. I'm training to compete in a sport in which there are 100 cyclists on race day who are going to be neck and neck with you. But I'm training alone. 7 days of the week, I'm training alone. So despite being consistent, it doesn't translate into results, which is what makes what NJ is doing even more impressive, because he's reached a place where his understanding of the sport is so deep that he knows exactly what sort of training is required on what sort of days in order to improve your performance by not even 1%. The gains that you make when you're at that level are so minute.
Yeah.
While at the same time, the losses that you make can be huge. If you fall sick for a week, you can lose 10-20 watts. Gaining that back will take you another 3 months of progression, maybe. If you one small injury, you've lost so much fitness. So how he does it is hats off to him for finding that delicate balance between consistency and quality of what you're doing, with a complete picture in mind as to, this will help me to improve in this aspect, doing that will help me improve in this aspect, but how do I balance everything together? Because NJ is close to 40 now, I don't know. And
38 now, yeah.
yeah, so despite that, you keep improving year on year. It is a testament of his knowledge, his hard work, his dedication, his work ethic. Yeah, hats off to him.
Yeah, being on this podcast multiple times, I had the having him on the podcast multiple times, I had the privilege of getting a bit more insight on his mindset and the routines and all that, and he is pretty open about the fact that it is not rosy even with him, right? He is not a machine. He also goes through the motions. He also goes through the ups and downs. He also has to constantly deal with the mental aspects of the things. But what he does well is, like you said, getting himself into the right environment, putting the right people around him, having a coach, he being a coach himself through and mentor to so many people. He finds a coach for him to work with, where he can trust the process and continue to learn on that aspect as well, and continue to improve, and also constantly works on the mental side of things, where, be it constantly reads the right books, and so that his mental game is also on the point, because that is a big side of things, right? If your mind is not on the right path, it doesn't matter how much hard work you put in, that you would suffer, because we live most of our lives in our minds at the end of the day, isn't it?
Absolutely. And your mindset is so important every single day when you're training. What mindset you go in with, but where it's also extremely important is when you're racing. So I know athletes who train with 100% seriousness and dedication, but when they come into a race, they're not in the right frame of mind. They're a little scared, they're feeling jittery. So all the training and dedication that you've shown before is going to culminate into nothing, because with the wrong mindset, you will make one wrong move in the race. You'll expend energy in one place, and an experienced rider or in a good race, that's enough for you to lose a chance to win this race. So yeah, mindset is, especially in a sport like cycling, so important. You need to be, on race day, you need to be calm, calculative, thoughtful, and 100%, 110% aware of what's happening around you. Because in every sport, in any sport, if you don't open your eyes and look around and see what's happening, you're never going to understand what's happening in this race. You're never going to understand what role you play in this race, and you're never going to understand how you can impact this race in order to give yourself a better position. So it all goes down to mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started working early, and you started commuting, and that's how you kind of got into cycling, right? And then you also kind of got into got a national medal and started training in Belgium, and became a part of a kind of semi-pro team, as such, as as semi-pro as you can get in a place like India,
Professional as you can get.
professional as you can get in India. So while all this, where did the working aspect, where was the working aspect figuring out?
Well, as a competitive cyclist, when I was still training in order to perform in the sport, it's not free. Nothing in life comes for free, and
Yeah.
you need to have money to pay for your food, your nutrition, your travel, your stay, your equipment. There, you need money for all of this. So, yeah, for me, it was very important to earn a little bit of my money as well in order to take charge of my expenses. So I was very lucky to be able to have a mindset in which, okay, most Indian families, most Indian parents, once their child is of working age, they want them to do a good job, they want them to earn a lot of money, they want them to spend so much, save so much, and stuff like that. Monetary goals. My monetary goal during my cycling career was to have enough money to spend on my
Cycling,
expenses,
yeah.
be it nutrition, hydration, travel, whatever. So yeah, I knew that it was very important, and I figured out a way. I got lucky, in fact, actually, because during my cycling years, I got this affliction of this. I started to enjoy writing, and I started blogging about my experiences. And I got few positive responses for my blogs, and through that, I got my first part-time job. So, as a copywriter for the Aditya Mehta Foundation, I used to write copy for them, and that's what gave me enough money to sustain my monthly activities. And then through that, I got another job as well, again as a copywriter. So that was clearly a skill that I realized that I had, which I can use in order to make a living. And it was perfect because it allowed me to work from wherever I am in the world. So yeah, I realized that it was very important to have my own revenue, to income flow coming in, and figured out that this is how I can do it. And it took work. It takes work.
Yeah.
Writing content for yourself is
One
easy
thing,
because
yeah.
you know what you want, but writing for somebody else is not that easy because you need to understand what they want before writing. So it took work, but I understood how things flow in this area. And
But your working career did not start there, though. You were working in some corporate setup before.
yeah, I
that?
was working in Deloitte. So when I got back from college, I came back to Hyderabad. And this is when I had quit chartered accountancy, so I needed to figure out what else I want to do in life.
Right.
While I didn't have any answers, so what do I want to do in life? You have to get a job, I guess, in that time.
Right.
So I got a job. I started working at Decathlon in Hyderabad. That was the first Decathlon store in Hyderabad. I worked there for 2 months before I got another job, a better job at Deloitte. So I took that, and I was working at Deloitte for a whole year before I quit. I quit that job purely to pursue cycling as a sport.
Right.
So while I was pursuing cycling as a sport, I needed another source of income.
Right.
That's where this part-time work came in.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, was it like easy decision, hard decision? How was it like to take that call to move away from, say, a constant source of income, or probably a career for a life, or something, to pursue something that is maybe not that stable, that not certain, a career in sport, right? How hard or easy was it to take that call?
See, at the end of the day, any decision that you take, if it's going to change the way you live your life, if it's going to change everything about your day-to-day schedule, then it is a big decision. But for me, I've always been a guy that's been driven by excitement, so working at Deloitte for a year, I really liked the job, as opposed to what so many other people would think, working at a corporate, boring, this, that. But I enjoyed the job. I enjoyed the people that I was working with. And I didn't picture myself quitting. But then, that's the time when Maxwell sir told me that if you want to do well as an athlete, then you can't train for 2-3 hours in the morning and then go to work and sit at work for 9 hours a day. And it just doesn't work like that. Your body needs more time to recover and be fresh for the next day. So when he told me that, it sort of sat inside and I started thinking about quitting. And I had made up my mind fairly quickly, because it was not a job that I could picture myself doing for the rest of my life. So it was an easy decision for me, I would say, because I had parental support as well. And I had something to look forward to. I was really, really excited to focusing full time on my training.
And also you were fairly young to say, okay, if not now, I can take it up some, later in the maybe 2-3 years down the line. And
absolutely. That was my mindset, definitely. But there's another side to things where you see your friends who've grown up with you. They've all been working, and by the time, when I was cycling and not having any money in life, they were already working and going up the ladder in their lives, and having big savings and buying their own houses and cars and whatnot. So it does make you reconsider a little bit. But at the end of the day, I had given up on that because I was pursuing something else that was giving me so much happiness, so much satisfaction, so much growth. Like the personal growth that came from my cycling career is immeasurable. Like I learned so much about everything. So much of what knowledge I have right now comes from those days in which I was all in trying to improve my health, my performance, and all of that.
That's a great point. While the decision might have been easy, it might not have been easy all the days, right? Some days there will be on the top of the world after a super great session and all that. There will also be days where you are seeing your friend that our ex-colleague going in a nice car to his nice villa or whatever, right? That say you start to doubt yourself and say, am I on the right path? This, that. Self-doubts can kind of creep in, but it is never easy. But you got to have that awareness in yourself, however young you are, that or however old you are, that you got to realize that it's a choice. It's a conscious choice that when you are making this decision, when you are saying yes to something, you are saying no to a lot of other things as well, right? And you got to be okay with all the things that you said no to.
Absolutely. There's a good saying which basically goes that in order to get somewhere in life, you need to let go of somewhere or something, which is exactly what we're talking about here. I had different goals, different ambitions, and in order to reach them, there is some sacrifice per se. So I had to sacrifice on certain things. But as long as you have the right mindset, it's not a tough decision.
Right.
And again, as long as you have the right mindset during those tough days when you see your friend driving in Audi, if you know in your heart that you're doing the best that you can for yourself, you will be okay with it. But if you know that you're shamming here or there, you're not putting your 100% into something that you had decided to put your 100% into. So you're not progressing in this career while others are progressing in their careers. That's when you'll feel the pinch.
Right.
But as long as you're
giving your 100%,
you will be fine.
Yeah. Awesome. So, and now coming back to your cycling at Nationals, when you were a second medal at the Nationals came when you were competing as an elite, right? Was it your first year as an elite or second?
It was my first year as an elite.
First year as an elite. You got out of under 23, got into elite, if I remember correctly. Was it 2017?
Correct.
In the Nationals that happened at Jamkandi.
Correct.
In a crit race.
Correct.
Right. And was it a silver or
It
bronze?
was the bronze. I got bronze.
So I remember that year because I was there watching the races. I was there as a uh, Gagan was there as an under 18 rider, and I was his coach. He was taking part in the Karnataka teams or team time trial. They won the gold, and that was the year where NJ won the
double.
Double. The road race was insane to watch, and him crashing say few hundred meters from the finish line and crossing the finish line bloodied, and it was something. It was surreal. And the next day was the final day was a crit. I by the time we took off, I had to get back to work, of course. So I did not get to watch the crit. How did the race itself go, and how did you end up getting a medal there?
Again, the crit was another race which I feel like tactically I did well. So when you get to the elite field, then the major players are the railways and the services teams. Along with, in this case, there would be one or two states which field strong elite level riders. But the main guys were the railways and the services guys. And I knew that if I have to get a result in this race, a lot is going to be dependent upon what they do in the race. So yeah, race strategy wise, it was pretty simple actually. If the railways attacks, then let the services close them down. If services attacks, let railways close them down. If there is an attack in which the two of them are there, one railways, one services, then there's no other way than to be in that move, So that was the same mentality that helped me win my medal in the under 23 the previous year, and same mentality that helped me to put up a good performance over here. So yeah, I had gone in with I didn't have any teammates actually in this race. So whatever I was going to do had to be done by myself. And race started off well. The same plan that I had was being implemented. And again, in a criterium race at the Indian national level, it's
okay.
At the criterium at the Indian national level, in the first one or two sprints, you will have excited, energetic guys who are maybe a little slightly new to the sport, who are going to give 110% towards winning that. Yeah, into cutlets. So I knew that there would be people like that in the race, and which I took a conscious decision that for the first 2 laps, I don't care about points. For the first 2 sprint laps, I don't care about points. If I'm near the front of the race, I might as well vie for it. If I'm not, I won't. And I didn't. I saw how much energy they were putting in, how many matches they were burning to sort of get those points. So that was the one conscious decision that I made before the race, because I knew that I wanted to save my energy for this latter part of the race. And that worked really well in my favor. I ended up getting some really good points on the board from the 4th lap onwards. And that's what helped me to win this medal.
Awesome. And that is something that is something that I've already noticed is that you were always a thinking racer, right? You might not have had the best FTP in the peloton, maybe far from it, but you always were sharp on your feet. You are always thinking and reading the race, and making the right moves, and being putting yourself in the positions that would come up with the best results given all the constraints. That is very important for the youngsters to kind of learn that. Don't just put your 100% your on focus on just the numbers. You got to be a student of the game. You got to understand. You got to read the race. So what is happening? You got to be aware of, even in a group ride, what is happening when you are even on a group ride. What is happening when you are at the front? are you kind of half wheeling the next person and putting them in trouble, or are you just aware enough to kind of match their effort, right? As simple as that. You got to be constantly be aware of your surroundings so that you are able to read a race, read a group, read the next person, and make the right moves.
Very true. I also strongly believe in what you said. I know for a fact that I was never the strongest racer. Um, but whatever little success I got in the sport, whatever few results I got in the sport, be it at local community racing or be it at the national level, have always been testament to the fact that you have to read a race. You have to see what's happening. You can't just go there and say, I'm going to race hard today. You can't expect to get good results in that way. You need to see, well, first of all, who all are racing. Who are the players, who's going to try to win the race. You need to see who they are. Then you need to see what they're doing in the race. You need to see if there's somebody supporting them, because you have a certain number of matches to burn in a race, and you need to make sure that you burn those matches at the right moments. So yeah, I strongly believe that this spatial awareness and people awareness in a race is probably something that came to me because of my days playing football, which is a very dynamic sport in which you have to keep looking around, see who's moving into which positions and how does that impact your position on the pitch, where should you be in those situations. So yeah, it's probably a mix of that, which is nice of me to remember now, because I feel that if you're into sport and if you're into competitive sport, like for example, if you're training to be the best cyclist, if you have a goal of winning at the Indian National Championships, your training need not be solely cycling. You can include other sports into your routine, which will help you to develop hand and mind coordination, which will help you to develop a different set of muscle groups, which you don't target when you're cycling. So that diversity in training helps you to have an edge over somebody else. So yeah, that's something that
as long as you stay away from injuries. Like if someone like me dabbling with the running or even something like football is not a good idea, I would think.
Not at all, no.
But
very good point.
Coming to talking about your time at Ciclo Racing, right? How was that period, and what are the memories that you take away from that whole stint, or even learnings? And
well, the best part about being a part of that race, the racing team, was it's like a family, and we were really lucky to be able to spend 3 months together in the same house in Belgium, where we cooked food together. We planned our training rides together. We went out on our training rides together. We went to the supermarket to buy stuff. And this is like it's like living in a house with elite Indian athletes. So you learn everything about them. You see what NJ is doing in the day. You see what Arvind is doing in the day. You see what Aman is doing and how that helps him to become the rider that he is. So those 3 months in Belgium were huge. Again, because like I said, training alone in Hyderabad doesn't help you as much, but training with these guys who are going to be pushing you to, you have to be at your best in order to be training with them. That way, it really helped improve our fitness. But not just fitness, our overall characters, our personality, our understanding of. So it in order to be an athlete, it's not about going out there and training hard each day. It's about everything else as well. How do you spend the rest of your day after that? The primary, most important things are you sleeping enough, and are you eating well, and are you hydrating well? And when you're living with NJ and Arvind, and you see these are two national champions who've gone head to head and are relatively at the same level for so long. They were when you see their different approaches towards their sport, and when you see how, despite their different approaches, they're both doing something similar in order to keep improving their fitness and performing at that level. you understand that there is a formula. There can be a formula to success. You learn so much about what it takes in order to be successful, not just in sport, in life. The discipline that I took towards cycling, that same discipline, if I put into photography, music, or chartered accountancy, I would probably be the best in that field as well. Because yeah, I mean that way these Belgium trips and this Ciclo team racing, training and racing together really taught me so much about what the best people in our country are doing in order to get to where they are. And then after spending 3 months in Belgium, I came back. We came back, and we moved to Jamkhandi. Naveen, NJ and I moved to Jamkhandi. We got a nice small rented apartment over there for a month, and we continued our training leading up to the Nationals that year. So from training and racing in Belgium, where there are so many facilities and whatnot, to moving to Jamkhandi, where we need to figure our own things out. It's a completely different system. So, but how do you adapt to that system? How do you adapt your routine to that system? How do you continue to make progressions in your training and, plan for the nationals? So that was my biggest learning, and the thing that I'm most grateful to Ciclo Team Racing for is that it gave me the opportunity to train and race with elite professionals in the sport, and grow together along with them, which is what any athlete who wants to improve in any sport needs to do. If you get a chance, if you get the insight into what elite athletes are doing on a day-to-day basis, it's so much knowledge over there. So yeah, that's what I'm grateful for.
Awesome. So one thing that I kind of remember you from, and you and your never say die attitude around that time was, I think the first time that I really noticed you was on a Nandi race, where you had a mechanical, like, was it like 2 kilometers to go, 1 kilometer to go, and you end up running with the bike to finish the race. That was incredible. I wrote a blog about it at the time. I was like mind blown to see the kind of spirit you showed around that time. Did you end up winning the race or finishing second? I don't remember right now, but
yeah, I've had bad luck with the Nandi Epic. It's one of those races which I really wanted to do well at. It's a very prestigious race in Bangalore, in South India, and the whole of India also maybe. And in this particular race, I was in second place, so KKR was slightly ahead of me. Yeah, it was an epic race in so many
2016?
ways. 2016.
Yeah.
So what happened was, there's from the highway, there's a turning you take which leads to the inner road that goes all the way to Nandi. In that turning, I had a small crash. So I fell down, I quickly got up, I got back onto my bike and got back up to, I think it was a front group of 4 back then. It was KKR, it was me, it was Sarvesh, and Craig Rains.
Yeah.
So the 4 of us, and they were nice enough to slow down that little bit, because when somebody crashes and he's part of your group, they were nice enough to slow down for me, and I caught back up to them, and we continued. But there's a little bit of an effort that comes with that.
Right.
Then from there we rode to the base of Nandi, and we were climbing together. KKR, in that race, particularly KKR had his own speed right from the beginning, and it was very tough to match. So he distanced me by a bit, but I was in clear contention for second over there. And I knew I was going to get second place if I just maintained my effort. Then, I think about 2 kilometers to the peak, there is one section where the road gets a little steeper.
All right.
And that's where I shifted into my smallest gear. But because of that crash which happened previously, when I shifted into my smallest gear, my derailleur hanger was slightly bent, so my entire the gearing system went into the spokes of my rear wheel.
Right.
And complete jam, mechanical, few spokes broke, wheel broke, this, that. But it was just 2 kilometers, and I knew that Sarvesh was hurting from long before in the race, and I knew that I had a good gap on him behind him. And Craig is not a climber, and he wasn't even in our category. He's a Masters rider.
Right.
So I still very strongly believed that I could finish ahead of them. But how? Yeah, so once I realized that my cycle is total, I decided now there's only one way, and that is to run up. And this was, I don't remember if it was before Froome did it or after.
Yeah, maybe Froome took a leaf out of your book, but or the other way around. But it was very much like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, in that particular moment, there's so much adrenaline that's rushing through your body that I just took off my shoes, and I had a follow car in which Maxwell sir was also there, my dad was also there, and my youngest brother was also there. So I took off my shoes and I threw them, and I just picked up my cycle and started running. It was hard running uphill with the cycle on your back, and it was about 2 kilometers to go. Sarvesh passed me. Craig, I don't think he passed me, but somebody else, Lokesh passed me. And then, like some stroke of luck, there was a rider, Gaurav, a senior rider, who was coming down Nandi. He was not part of the race or anything, but he saw me running and
Batla.
Yes, Gaurav Batla. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So he saw me running with my bike, and instantly he, just out of courtesy, I think he asked, what's up? Do you want my cycle? And I'm like, yeah. So instantly I put my cycle here, and I took his cycle, and then I started hammering. Now, when you're running for some time up a hill, then I feel like somehow the muscles that you use when you're cycling are not being used as much as they recovered.
Yeah.
So when I got onto his cycle, I had that energy to hammer. And I hammered, and I caught back up to Sarvesh, and I overtook him, but I couldn't beat Loki, I think. So I missed out on the podium in that race, which is very sad.
Yeah, I'll find and put a link to that blog because that was really crazy to witness. That was a really nice, nice thing to see in an youngster that young, and I was like, whoa, this guy can do something in the picture. But coming back to your time at Nationals, right? You won that bronze at the in the elite category in 2017. And which was your last Nationals?
I mean, essentially, I would say that was my last Nationals in which I had actually trained to race. The next year as well, I was in really good shape again. And I had planned a 1 month training camp in Chandigarh before heading to the Nationals, which was, I think, in Kurukshetra or Mohali or something like that.
Kurukshetra. I think, yeah.
But yeah, there was a race that the CFI had organized in Delhi 1 month prior to Nationals, which I took part in. And there was one turning which was sketchy with broken tar. The rider in front of me fell down. I fell on top of him. 2 more guys fell on top of me, and it didn't hurt as much in the moment. So I picked up my bike and I continued. I finished the race, whatnot. But that night I had like a lot of pain in my hand. So I realized that my scaphoid was fractured. So, and that takes 3 months to recover from. So I had to skip the next Nationals. And yeah, the next Nationals after that, I realized that, I mean, I have other goals in life as compared to, just focusing on cycling and performance. So yeah, you can say 2017 was my last Nationals per se. I did take part in 2020, but again, that was without training.
So what kind of made you move away from, say, that competitive cycling, at least at the national level?
A lot of different things, actually. It can be broken down into multiple things. Cycling as a career wasn't giving me enough income. I couldn't see myself. See, I knew that in order to improve in this sport, I need to be training and racing in a place with other racers. I need to be living with them. I need to be training on a daily basis. That's how I'm going to be improving. And if I don't have the goal of being able to perform at an international level, then what am I even doing in the sport? Because I have performed at the national level. If I'm not going to go the next step from there, then what am I doing? And I could not see that pathway. I could not see how to, let's say, get enough funds to travel abroad for 3 months also was a really good period, but I want 6 months a year, because if you do 6 months in Belgium, for example, you're going to be a different beast. You're going to be one level above the Indian national level. And if you do 2 or 3 seasons of 6 months in Belgium, then you're probably ready to race internationally. I couldn't see myself investing the time, money into that. Apart from that, there was one really sad incident which so there was another race. The CFI organized a race by some company called Ripe Mango Events or Raw Mango Events or something like that. It was in Mumbai. A super tough race. We were racing in peak 42 degrees Celsius heat with humidity and whatnot. And I was supposed to win 67,000 rupees, 60,000 for coming in 5th place and 7,000 rupees for coming second in the prime. There was a sprint in between the race. And they took me onto the stage and they gave me one big certificate which said, 60,000 rupees, this, that. They took photos of that. And at the end of that race, the top 10 riders who were supposed to be getting cash prizes, they got nothing. Nobody was paid a penny. So, you spend so much money to train for your nutrition, for your travel, for your stay at these places. You put in 110% effort in those conditions to race and get a result. And then you don't get paid for it, which was very sad.
Promised and paid, not paid.
And pictured, and I don't want to be calling out names. I don't want to go into that negativity streak. I don't want to be calling out names, but yeah, that was also it had a huge impact on me, especially when it's a time where I'm making little money, spending all of that money, and you have so much use. It's not like I'm greedy for money, but if it's something that I've earned in such a hard way and you don't give it to me, it's gonna impact you. That mentally impacted me quite a bit, that particular race. And apart from that, then there was, my God, there was another incident also where I raced the sugar-free cyclothon in Ahmedabad. So I registered for that race, I think 2 months prior to the race. And I planned to travel to Ahmedabad for this race 3 days. I had booked my tickets 3 days prior to the race. And while I'm sitting in, I think it was a train to Ahmedabad, I get a notice from the Cycling Federation of India saying all riders who are going to be racing in this will be banned. I'm like, dude, now, first of all, after all the registrations have taken place, now I'm going to Ahmedabad for this race and you're saying will be banned. I decided to ignore that. And I went forward and raced, and there were other national riders as well in that race. It was not just me. There were a lot of people, because it's a well organized race and there is prize money, and you get to see the prize money the very next day. They pay you out. So I did well in that race. I placed second in that race. I won 50K, which is minus tax. I got, I think, 35K, whatnot. And the very next week was another race in Hoshiarpur. This was organized by the CFI. So for me, it was a huge moment, because this is after my fracture. I was just getting back to fitness and I had just gotten back to race fitness, and I needed race experience. As a racer, you want more and more races to improve from. So I did the sugar-free cyclothon, and then the next week I showed up in Hoshiarpur, Punjab for the CFI race, finished all my registration formalities, this, that, the night before, and show up to the race start line, where the head of CFI sort of called me out and said, "You are not allowed to race here." I'm like, "Sir, what? Please? No, you are not allowed to race here." I begged. There was a neutral zone before the start line. Throughout the neutral zone, I was just begging, because, it's so mentally damaging. This is my only goal in life. This is what I'm training for. And you're just going to kick me out of the race from the start line. So after traveling all the way to Hoshiarpur for that race, I got kicked out at the start line. Without them even listening to my case. They didn't even give me that okay, let me listen to you before I kick you out. No. So I cried that day. I cried my eyes out that day. So there's a lot of small things like this which led to me being disappointed in what am I trying to achieve in the sport? Why am I not getting support that I probably require, or I won't say deserve, but it's not tough for you to say, okay, you've done so much, okay, we will let you race. It's just, yeah, it was very sad. There's a lot of
Yeah, there is this always there is a thing about race. We always complain that there are not enough races. That is our perpetual complaint, right? And there are organizations that are coming up from time to time to organize races with prize money and all. But the thing is, when there is prize money involved and there is no blessing from the CFI, there is no approval from the CFI, there is immediately going to be backlash. That's what I've seen over the years. If there is no prize money, if there is nothing involved in that sort, you are organizing races. Say CFI doesn't say anything about races at club level races. For example, be it BBCH, be it BAR, be it Hyderabad racing circuit, or HRC or MRC or whatever these little community races, they don't say anything, which is a great thing, because that is grassroots level racing that despite not having any support, they're flourishing in whatever capacity, whatever volunteer work that people from the community are doing, which is a great thing. They don't say anything about it. But once there is a prize money involved, I don't quite know the logic behind it, but they definitely make raise red flags and say, no, you can't show up at these races that are not CFA certified. Right?
Which is sad. Again, I also don't know exactly why they do this, but I'm pretty confident it's because, see, if I'm a race organizer and I want to do a really good race for people, and I have pulled in sponsors with great difficulty to give prize money to the top performing racers over here, suddenly after organizing this whole race, if I get one call from somebody from the CFI that says, oh, you're doing this, huh? TK, you have to be associated with the CFI. We have to approve this race for you. In order to get our approval, you have to pay us X amount of money, which is not a cheap sum. So they don't have the funds, they don't have the budget to do that. And also they don't see the value. Because what are you bringing in? I already have my race officials. I already have people who know about the sport of racing, who know how to organize the race. I've planned everything out. Last minute pay, if you're going to come in and say, no, you need to pay us this amount, we'll help you in your race, whatever, but this is how it's done. Then it's not easy to say no to them. But if you think rationally, there is no other option. I don't have the budget for this. I have everything planned out already. I would prefer to do this race without being affiliated to you. If the CFI could accept that fact, then we would not have this problem. But they always have a problem with that.
See, it's a tricky situation though. Being a body that is in theory responsible for everything cycling, they also have to kind of play their part and say, I am the central body that is responsible for organizing everything with whatever resources they have. Say at least politically, as you can't as a body, you can't let another entity exist in your opposition. Right? I mean, we don't know at our level to the kind of all the political drama around it. It will be speculation and probably wrong on our part to even talk about it. So let us leave it at that.
It is speculation. Which is why I don't want to get
correct. It is not right on our part to even kind of speculate without the whole understanding the whole the system as such. But it is there. It is not an ideal situation, but it is what it is. Thankfully right now the couple of races that you are talking about right now, that HCL cyclothon is associated with CFI now, and they are organizing the HCL cyclothon, I think, in Chennai, in Delhi, and a couple of places. And it seems to be a yearly event, at least from what I'm seeing, which is a good thing. At least,
It's a great thing. It's a
Yeah.
great thing. My only concern is that as the official body for governing the sport in the country, your goal, you should be happy that there are more people who want to organize this. Because as the CFI, how much funding does the CFI get? Hardly anything. With that amount of funding and with a small core team, there's only so much that you can do. And they are doing really good work as well. They've done so much for track cycling. So they are doing really good work. They're making sure that national championships is held. Sure, there will be small problems here and there in organization and all, but we're okay with all of that. My only concern is that when somebody else is also, they're helping you, you are the governing body that has to produce athletes in this sport. Somebody else is coming and doing something that you don't have the budget or the funds or the manpower for. You should support them.
Correct. Yeah, I think maybe this is their way of saying whoever else is conducting with prize money or whatever, you work with us to organize that, right? So that there is no kind of whatever confusion or whatever. But yeah, let's leave it at that.
Let's leave it at that.
We don't want to get into trouble anyway. But yeah, that see, all these things are you kind of play on your mind. Definitely, being an athlete itself is a hard job. When things like these kind of come into the picture, all of these kind of play on your mind, and it's fair enough that you ended up questioning yourself, your choices, and say, is it the right path I am on? And decided to say, man, maybe this is it for me for now. And you decided to kind of hang the competitive boots there and moved on with life. Where did it take you from there?
It's been an interesting journey since then. Once I realized that training to be competitive in this sport is not my primary goal in life, then you need another goal in life. And what was that goal for me? Initially, my first thing was to start earning money again, to start earning decent money again. I found a job this time as a full-time copywriter somewhere. I spent about a year at that organization. In that 1 year, I realized that it's not for me. My drive lies somewhere else. And I had also gotten back in touch with my old sport, football, which I had to stop because of an injury. And that's during that injury is when I picked up cycling. So after I gave up cycling is when I got back in touch with football. I started playing regularly, and then saw an opportunity to get licensed as a football coach from the All India Football Federation. So I went for that. I did well at the course. I got my license. I started coaching, and I really enjoyed it. Really enjoy it. There is so much value that you can give to students and their parents who are coming to take coaching from you just by being around them. And you get so many questions about is he eating well enough? Why did he have a little extra weight? How can he get fitter? How can he get stronger? Why is he feeling like the other boys are playing so physical? Why is my child not playing physical? There is such a wide array of questions, all of which I could answer because of my knowledge of sport, by which I had really which had really grown up till then. So I really found my calling here in football coaching. I coached for 3 years. I got the next level of license as well. So really enjoyed that, and I do plan to continue coaching. But right now I'm at a junction in my life, basically, where I spent the last 3.5 years of my life working with Hotfoot at the I managed the business for them, and I was also a coach at their academy, which it was a full-time job, very very demanding job, definitely. I did really well over there, but yeah, I felt like, that's it, that's enough. There's now I need to do something else, and I need to do something of my own. And that's when again, now this is my whole character, my personality, everything that defines me, is sport, and being active and being fit and stuff like that. So I know for a fact that this is the field in which I need to build my career, and this is what drives me as well. It's, rather than sitting and making sure that somebody's accounts are balanced, or rather than filing somebody's taxes or something like that, this is something that drives me, which I want to do for myself as well every day. I want to plan my workouts. I want to plan which days I'm going to the gym, which days I'm going to be playing football, which days I'm going cycling, which days I'm going swimming. And for me, it is a very big challenge for me, because I'm the kind of guy that wants to do everything. I want to race a cycle race in the morning. I want to compete at a football tournament in the evening. Then next day I want to go swimming with my friends. And next day I want to go hiking. So there's so much activity that I want to do, that it's very challenging for me to actually figure out what I can do, what I should not do, what I should stay away from, in order to keep myself fit and injury free. So yeah, what I drives me that I do for myself. I am very keen to work with other people who could use my knowledge, or my guidance,
experience and knowledge and guidance from there.
Yeah, which is why I'm doing this course, to be certified as a personal trainer. And yeah, from now onwards, I hope to be working with people in a more personal basis, one-to-one basis. And I know for a fact that I can help you to set goals that you can work towards and nail. So I'm very excited to take my first few steps, which is going to happen in the next months to come.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I mean, it's been, let's talk a little bit about, it's quite hopeful, and, you have experience, almost lifelong experience as an athlete, or playing different sports. You have experience almost at an elite athlete, at a sport in India, as elite as one can get. And then you have experience as a coach, working with youngsters, and a sport that you love. And now you are, getting certified as a personal trainer, which is a huge thing, because strength and conditioning is a huge part of everyone's life, or at least it should be. And how, and you're still young, okay? Because just because you started young doesn't make a long back doesn't make you old, because you're still young. Because just because you started very young, you have all this experience, right? So how do you see the next few years, next few decades, as someone who is hoping to make a career in sport? How do you see yourself and the sport and the field growing?
Very good question. Like I mentioned before as well, I am someone that finds it tough to see a long-term picture, because the future is so uncertain. You never know what doors can open for you at what points in your life. But that being said, see, one of the primary things that drives me is, back when I was in class 12, I just finished my board exams. I was really fit. I was captain of my school team, and I was a really good footballer. And I was looking forward to going to college, doing some trials, sports quota trials and stuff like that. But that's when injury hit me. And when I got injured, it was while playing football only. But there was no good guidance. There was nobody to tell me that, what happened to you might be a ligament tear. This is how you deal with a ligament tear. This is what you're supposed to do. There was nobody. So with no guidance, I, after injury, went back home, could not walk for the next 4 days. I started walking only on the fifth day. I started jogging on the sixth day, and I was motivated to start jogging because there was a small football tournament coming up, which my team had registered for. So once I realized that I was jogging, I felt that, if I'm jogging, I can play football. What else do you need? So I ended up showing up at that tournament, and the first minute of the tournament, I shot and we hit the post. So that gave me even more josh that, I'm doing well also. And within the next few minutes, I tried to shoot again, and then I heard three loud cracks, tuck, 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 and that was a major ligament tear in my right knee. So, as a young athlete who could have benefited from having good guidance, I feel like my calling in life is to be able to give guidance to these people. Not, and it doesn't just end at that. It's not just guidance. I want to be able to build a facility which can be like a center where so many people can come and get good guidance, good trainers, good instructors, good lifestyle decisions. It has to be like a wholesome,
Right. Holistic.
I feel like this is what is lacking in our Indian society. Is there are very, very few places which will actually help with a wholesome training routine for not just for athletes but for individuals as well. It's not just athletes who need proper training and proper guidance. It's people who sit and work on a computer. You might be 40 years old, you might be working at a corporate, and you might be suffering from neck pain, from back pain, or something like that. Even those people need the right guidance in order to improve their health. So yeah, I picture myself being a player in this field. Basically, I want to be capable of providing quality guidance and showing that there is a pathway to get results, and I want to be able to show that pathway to people and guide them through that process. And I want to open a center through which I can do all of this. It's not a gym. It's not going to be a gym per se. It's going to have weights, definitely, because weight training is an important part of strength and conditioning for anybody, not just athletes, anybody. But I also believe very strongly that in order to live a healthier life, in order to live a healthier lifestyle also, you need to be enjoying what you're doing.
Right.
Different people have different enjoyments. There's somebody might enjoy going to the gym and lifting weights, but that's only 1% out of 100. What are the other 99 people doing? What do they enjoy? So you need to figure out what they enjoy doing, which is something related to health and fitness, something which will help them to be healthier in their life. And you need to understand how to channel that into a regular weekly routine or a daily routine.
Yeah.
So this is where I picture myself. And I'm still at the very beginning of this journey. I have another 2 months to go before I get my certification. But I can already picture myself working in this field. Because I know I've already worked with people. I've already helped people to improve this. In fact, I coached one young footballer whose father, he used to coach with me at the academy, at the Begumpet Academy. But then they moved away, and then his father approached me and said, he's doing really well, but we want to take it to the next level. So I worked with him, and within 12 sessions, the results that I saw were incredible. Like I'd written down numbers of his performance when we started, and within 12 weeks, the same tests when I did, there was improvement in every aspect: his vertical jump, his speed, straight line speed, his suicides, everything. So yeah, that also drives me, because I understand that just by showing a good process and helping them implement that good process, results follow. Will follow.
Yeah, amazing, man. It is great to see the same passion that I saw you as a bike racer in what you are doing now. It is just I can see your eyes light up when you speak about this, and I really wish you all the very best in the journey ahead. And I'm sure you would make an excellent personal trainer and coach. All the very best for your journey ahead. And thank you for taking the time and sharing your experience with the Working Athlete podcast.
My pleasure, Venki. Thank you so much for having me. It's like I said at the beginning, I always wanted to be on this podcast. I've been listening to it for a while. I think you're doing a great job with sharing this information. There's every single person has so much knowledge and information to share, and this is a great medium for people who actually can learn from so many different kinds of people. You're providing a great medium for them to learn from. So thank you, in fact, for hosting this podcast.
Thank you for the kind words, because all of us have, our own journeys, our own stories, and each story can teach someone or the other something, if not everything. That's the thought behind sharing these working athlete journeys.
Superb thought, and it's not just a thought, it's superb implementation. You're doing such a good job with getting so many stories out. Hats off to you.
Thank you. That was my conversation with Parashuram Chenji. I hope you enjoyed that. If you are enjoying these podcasts and are finding them useful, please consider supporting the podcast by subscribing to it on YouTube as well as on your favorite podcasting app. It really helps. Thanks again for your continuous support. See you next week with another guest.